Welcome to Cheesy Reviews. I'm Jake Cheesbrough, and this is your interactive movie review YouTube channel. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means that if you leave a comment down below, I am guaranteed to give it a like just to show that you know that I've been reading all of them through, and I will reply to as many as I can. As these videos start to build up more and more, that might get a little bit more difficult, but I will do my best and at least give you guys a like so that you know that at least I'm reading what your guys' thoughts are, positively or negatively, your fun facts or full disclosures. And if YouTube isn't really where you want to leave your comments, that's okay too, because I will put my Twitter handle in the description down below and you can contact me that way. So, without further ado, let's get into today's review. Wonder Woman 1984 came out in 2020. It is directed by Patty Jenkins again and stars Gal Gadot as Diana, Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Kristen Wiig as Barbara, aka Cheetah, and Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. Now, today's full disclosure is I watched pretty much all the trailers. Honestly, I might have skipped one or two, and that is only because these trailers didn't do anything for me. I was not really... I had no idea what this movie was about. My enthusiasm wasn't raised at all by any of the marketing, which is the job of the trailer, and to me, it just didn't do that. So I went in, even though I really enjoyed Wonder Woman, especially on the second viewing. Check out my review for Wonder Woman that I just put out a couple of days ago to get caught up on that. But even with my enjoyment of that movie, I wasn't that enthused for this, just going into it. Maybe that's just 2020 wearing on me, but who knows. So Wonder Woman 1984 takes us back in time, about Diana forward in time to 1984, and we get a lot of Stranger Things-esque 80s nostalgia scenes. There is an opening scene in a mall montage with Pedro Pascal's character on the TV that is pretty cool. And Diana continues to grow in her powers, and we learn a little bit more about her backstory as she faces off against Maxwell Lord and Cheetah. So that leads into today's fun fact, which is Emma Stone was originally asked to be Cheetah / Barbara in this movie, but turned it down. So then Patty Jenkins got to go to her original first choice, who was Kristen Wiig, who we will get into in our pros section pretty soon. And going right into our pros, I did talk about this a little bit in my Wonder Woman review as well, but having seen both movies now, you're kind of able to do a little bit of comparing and contrasting into, oh, I guess I liked this more than I thought I did, because of how they did it not as well in the other film, and then some vice versa. So the first pro that I will give is the villains. I feel that they are much more fleshed out. Granted, you can't really flesh out a villain when there's almost like a whodunit version going into it, like they were doing with Ares in the original Wonder Woman, but I really liked Pedro Pascal's character. I could have seen him getting annoying, and that didn't happen for me. Kristen Wiig also... I mean, I see her in the trailers. I'm like, I just don't see Kristen Wiig as a villain. But I thought she did really well. And I believed her. There was a sense of... They were just three-dimensional, you know? As we learn at the end what Pedro Pascal's kind of... origins, backstory, I guess, is through some images, you do start to feel for him a little. But I thought both of them were well utilized. They both had enough screen time. It didn't feel like one was kind of pushed to the side. I thought that in a screenwriting perspective, that they were both really well written and both portrayed their characters respectively very well. The second pro I will get, and this is also goes back to the trailer, I'm like, I don't know how you're going to get me to believe that Steve Trevor's back. It happened. I'm like, okay, I buy that. That's especially since it's not thrown in. It is an essential part of the plot for multiple characters. So it felt earned, and I didn't question it. So that's really good. I'll get into some stuff I didn't like about the Steve Trevor stuff in the cons, but overall, I thought Chris Pine in general, he just plays this character so well, and the dialogue that they give him is just... especially during those emotional parts, he really conveys it, and you really start feeling it. I thought he did really well, too. And again, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman for me. I think that she totally lives up to this character, and she's just Wonder Woman now, and that's pretty cool because I talked about a little bit before. Even in Batman versus Superman, I'm like, all right, you can look the part, but she had what, maybe a couple lines of dialogue. I mean, granted, it wasn't her movie, but it didn't make me excited for Wonder Woman, and then she's just blown me away these last couple performances. And maybe that's part of Patty Jenkins getting the best out of her crew as well. Either way, there should be applauses all around. Also, super excited for Patty Jenkins to take on Rogue Squadron in the Star Wars universe. Can't wait. And the last pro I kind of liked, and this also goes back to the screenwriting, is they almost reverse this fish out of water, because now that Chris Pine is in the 80s, this is almost Gal Gadot, Diana, walking him around this world and showing him the rope. So it was kind of a nice little turn of the tables. And then some of the cons, musically, I really missed Rupert Gregson Williams, who was one of my who was one of my big pros of the original Wonder Woman. I mean, granted, you got Hans Zimmer, who came up with the Wonder Woman theme song in Batman versus Superman. So, I mean, it's Hans Zimmer, so he always does really, really well. But I loved what Rupert Gregson Williams did with the original score, and I felt it was kind of missed. Granted, a lot of the emotional beats, they do still hit really well, but in the back of my head, I was thinking, I wonder how he would have handled this, because I thought he did excellent in the first Wonder Woman. Another thing that was a con, but there's no real fix to it, was it emphasized a pro of Wonder Woman. That was the loss of the ensemble. The group that was in World War One, all those characters, and how they kind of fed off each other. I remember enjoying it, but just seeing it gone now. There's a picture of one of them, well, I'll just say more grown up. And one of the portraits in it got me like, made my stomach kind of churn for a second once I realized who I was looking at, because I did really get connected to all those characters and miss them. And I thought that was definitely a hole in this. Again, you're making that big time jump. I don't know how you fix it, but maybe it just shows how well it was written in the original Wonder Woman. Another thing that was a con was there's an ability that Diana gets, and she kind of shoehorns it. Oh, my father did this thing once, and I've been practicing really hard at it. And then she's just able to do it. And it was almost like an insert random ability here to fix a plot hole. And I'm positive that she has this ability in the comics, in the old TV show. That's all well and good, but it just felt really like, oh, we need her to do this because maybe even that's the reason. We need her to do this because she's able to do it in her other iterations. It would have been fine for me if they had like a flashback to her being a child, at the beginning of the movie, and her working on this, and now it just felt really shoehorned in. Granted, she does get another ability later on after an emotional point, after there was kind of like a throwaway dialogue scene about this ability, and I thought that was well earned. So they, a little bit here, a little bit there. And the last con is a little bit about Steve Trevor too, and this is maybe a minor spoiler. I'm trying to figure out a way to say it without spoiling the whole thing. But Steve Trevor, when he comes back, it's almost not him, like it is, but it maybe isn't, and that question mark is where my con comes from. I would have rather they just kind of have him up here, and they do it in like a sideways, like when they look in the mirror, something else happens, and they tried to have it be a payoff at the end, and the whole time I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, but is it Steve Trevor? I would rather just have it be that. So it kind of took me out a little bit here and there, but overall, it didn't bother me that much because I think Chris Pine just does so well in that role. So those are my thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. For a grade, I did not like it as much as Wonder Woman, but I still thought it was a pretty good action superhero movie. I was completely entertained for the 2.5 hours. Just some minor things that put it below, and some storytelling beats that just didn't work as well. But again, the villains, I mean, I almost enjoyed them being on the screen just as much as Wonder Woman, as Gal Gadot. So that was definitely a big improvement for me. But overall, I just didn't enjoy it as much as the original Wonder Woman. So I will give Wonder Woman 1984 a half block of cheese. So that's it, guys. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, comment down below your positive or negative thoughts, your fun facts, full disclosures, and if that's not your forte, my Twitter handle will be in the description below. So until next time, I'm Jake Cheesebrough. This is Cheeser Reviews, and whether you guys are watching the Bears try to squeak their way into the playoffs or already taking down your Christmas trees, do it all the way and carpe that diem.